If you thought this was going to be a highlight reel, you better leave now. Let's go camping. It's Monday morning and we're heading out to do some hill reps. And it was the bumpiest flight we've ever been on. Today is Tuesday and we're heading out for a 45-minute easy run. It's Wednesday morning and we were going to head out for a little run this morning, but it's currently 9:30 in the morning and we've only just woken up.
Debbie's packed extra light. The bags didn't arrive.
It's now Thursday at 5 PM. Trying to have the right fuel, stay hydrated, sleep, all that sort of stuff has been really, really tricky to manage. It's now Friday and we're going to go out for a little hike/run. There's a river. Maybe this isn't the track. And the hardest part is just trying to stay on the track. Everyone's just up here hiding behind a rock, waiting for the cloud to pass. Going on a run up to a lookout called Panorama. The way's still windy. Hoping that it maybe sounds worse than it is. It literally hasn't stopped raining the whole time we've been here. So at the moment, my weeks for training are all pretty similar. The structure is basically Mondays I'll do some hills, Tuesdays I'll have an easy run, Wednesdays will be something of a build or a progression, Thursdays will be another easy run. I was having a day off Fridays. I'd have an easy run Saturday and then I'd have a longer run on Sunday. So usually around 2 to 2.5 hours. And then on top of running, I'd also have 2 gym sessions a week. So generally with a pretty heavy leg focus, and I would do those on my hard days. So usually a day where I've done hills, I'll do hills and gym. And then if I had a progression or a build, I would do my gym session in the afternoon on that day as well. So Mondays would be for hill sessions. Usually it would be some kind of descending pace effort, and rather than going off particular distances or length of the hill, it would just be time based. So for example, 50 minutes of hills. It gives me that flexibility to choose a hill that's around me and that I can use, and just keep doing that for the amount of time. If there were no hills, we were in Tallinn and it was literally the flattest place I've ever seen. I did use a treadmill as well. I suppose the only negative of using a treadmill is that you don't get that kind of downhill stimulus. So ideally it's great to be outside, but I suppose at the end of the day, as long as you're doing the session, it's got to be helping. I'd always make sure that I packed fuel for these, so when we were leaving, I just made sure I put some gels and things like that in my bag, because I knew that we would be traveling around a lot and it would be hard to fuel these sessions if I wasn't kind of proactive about it. So I just threw some Precisions in, some Maples, and definitely had 1 or 2 Red Bulls along the way as well. My aerobic or my easy runs did take up a chunk of my training, and I found these were a really cool way to go and explore some of the cities that we were visiting. Lots of them did have these super awesome old towns, and just absolutely loved getting up, running out that way, having a look around and then making a day out of it. The only issue I suppose that kind of came up from that was that we were doing a lot of walking and running in the same pair of shoes. So did end up buying, Coach, did end up having to buy a new pair of shoes whilst we were over there. And honestly, I think it was probably the best decision. Trying to remember to track how many Ks that you do have on your shoes, so that when you are wearing them, you're not running on foam that's just completely worn out. I think at the end of the day, that is probably how some injuries occur. So yeah, just went out and bought a fresh pair of Nova Blasts and basically just used those for all my easy running and all of our walking. Sometimes we were getting up to like 30,000 steps a day, and it was absolutely insane. My build runs were my key sessions for the week. So coming into these, I really wanted to make sure that I felt ready, I felt fueled, and I had gotten enough sleep. So I would put a lot of my energy into looking at the week ahead and making sure that I kind of scheduled this on a day where we weren't traveling around too much, and we would kind of have the space to do this the best that we could. Sometimes this meant that if the build run was scheduled for a Wednesday, I did have the flexibility of the day off on Friday and kind of moving that one to there, if that meant that I was going to be able to do the session better. And honestly, after coming back from a 5-week holiday and not getting like your classic 8 hours of sleep every night, I can tell you how much it has effect on just like feeling tired, but also like feeling run down. As soon as I'm not getting enough sleep, immediately my body just goes like, nah. I did find long runs particularly hard, especially towards the back end of the trip where we were starting to run out of the nutrition that we'd packed. Sometimes I would just try to run a little bit longer on a Saturday and then just get whatever I could in on a Sunday. We did actually incorporate our long run into watching an Ironman race that was on in Tallinn, just coincidentally, when we were there. So we ended up running out to it, and then we kind of like intermittently do some runs whilst they were on the bike, and then we'd stop and watch them do the run. And obviously not ideal, but it was a super fun day and just a cool way to just get some Ks on the legs anyway. Just realised that there's an Ironman on, so we've walked over to the start. It looks like it was meant to start at 6:30, but it's been pushed back to 9:30, and we asked some fella why, and he said that the water temperature is 6 degrees, so freezing.
One last high five, one last.
So for the swim start, they start here,
kiss, take care of that PR,
and then it's super shallow, and they walk all the way out to this pontoon, and then that's where their time starts. But they're not letting anyone warm up until they actually start heading out to start their swim.
All you can today. We know you're ready.
And then we had a nice brutal hot run in Singapore as well. We just found a rail trail, basically just went one way for 24 kilometers. So just jumped onto that one, ran out for an hour and a bit, came back and sat by the pool for the rest of the day. We were also actually in Helsinki when the Helsinki Marathon was on. Well, we left the day before it started, and there was a mile on the Friday, a race. And I was like, I could run that. So I actually went over and tried to register, but it was a little bit too late. So we got to hang out and watch that, and it was such a cool vibe. They had like DJs playing, and yeah, it would have been really awesome if we could have hung around for the full thing. And then my last little piece of advice for running overseas would be definitely check out the park runs that are on in the area. So we got to do one when we were staying in London. We were in Islington, and there was literally like 7 that we could have chose from that would have been a jogging distance from the place we were staying. Obviously, if you do have a coach, I would recommend checking with them beforehand, especially if you know you're the type of person that is going to go out a little bit harder than you meant to when there are other people around. But yeah, definitely a really cool way to meet new people. I think most parkruns get a group together and they go for coffee afterwards as well. So yeah, love them. Actually ended up doing 0 gym sessions while I was overseas, which I am a little bit disappointed about. But at the end of the day, I was there for a holiday, so it's not the end of the world. But I think if I was to do it again, I would put together just like a little 15-minute routine that I could do in hotels or even at a park, or even just be a little bit more on top of using the yoga app that I have, just to keep everything moving the way it should. I did actually get the chance to go and do a hot Pilates session when we were in Tallinn, Estonia, and I've never done hot Pilates before, and the whole class was not in English. So that was a ride. It was heaps of fun, and I sweated so much. There was sweat coming out of my shins. I didn't even know you could sweat out of your shins. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about my goals and my values recently, and eating healthy and fueling my body correctly are definitely two things that are super important to me. So before I went overseas, I did have a chat to a dietitian who just gave me some advice and some guidelines around meals I should be having and things I should be eating, and kind of amounts of those foods as well. Now, I knew going overseas I wouldn't be able to follow this directly, especially being in a foreign country with different foods around, but it was really nice to have this information in the back of my mind so that I could be conscious about the decisions I was making. So Norway's supermarkets, they had these amazing fresh food sections where you could get pre-made meals, pastas, quiches, huge salads. They had wraps, they had sandwiches, and then they had these salad bars where you could go grab a bowl and then you could literally just pop in anything you wanted. There was like corn chips, eggs, pasta, smoked salmon, all this stuff, and then yeah, just go pay for it at the register. So really love that. And otherwise, whilst I was there, I just focused on buying like whole foods, so things like fruits and white and red meats. We were staying at some of the hotels, they did come with breakfast, so we got to go to these like amazing buffet breakfasts some mornings. And I'm a sucker for free food, and sometimes it's so hard to say no to all the like sweet treats that they have, the croissants and the danishes and the muffins. So I would always get my first plate, and I would focus on just getting in something like some bread and some eggs, some beans. I'd have some potatoes if they were there as well. And then if I was still hungry after that, then I would jump in and grab maybe some fruit and yogurt. And I found most of the time that tied me over, and then I wasn't really craving any of that sweet stuff. I will say though, the amount of smoked salmon that I ate when I was in Norway was absolutely crazy. It was everywhere and it was so good. And then yeah, when we got to Singapore, same thing, still trying to stay as healthy as I can, but we found these really cool salad bars, salad places, like lunch spots. And yeah, you just go in and you choose your base, which would be, you know, like a leaf, or you could get like a rice or a pasta, and then you move across and you choose some like vegetables to go on top. So you could get there was like broccoli, pumpkin, sweet potato, you could get tofu, and then you go across and choose your protein. So you could get like chicken or beef or salmon. And yeah, you could just have that huge massive bowl, and then that usually filled me up for lunchtime. Now, I'm not saying you should just eat salads, it's just something that I find really enjoyable and I really like to eat. And then the other thing that I did too was I just tried to cut back on alcohol. So I do love a beer, but it was really nice for me to be able to sit down with Christian, he could have a drink, and then I would be okay with saying no and just having, maybe I'd have like a lemonade or a ginger beer. And I think just that small action kind of helps me align with my values and what I'm trying to achieve. And it does, I think it ultimately does boost my mood, put me in a better place. As soon as I think about my values and not doing things that align with those, I think that's when I can start becoming like grumpy and moody, and I've never really put two and two together, but I think that's definitely what's been happening. And yeah, being conscious of that lately has been really cool. So I wanted to finish this video by sharing two things I'm super excited to try out for the next few months leading into my final races of the year. The first is these shoes. So these are shoes, they're by Keen. I've never actually run in Keen shoes before, and they're called the Seek. So this is a pair of their trail shoes that they've brought out, and I've been for a run in them now, and a few things that I absolutely love to start with is they do have quite a roomy toe box. So I've talked a little bit about foot health. I'm wearing toe socks. I'm trying to massage out like the soles of my feet just to hopefully help the rest of my body work properly. So by having a large toe box, it means that your toes have a bit more room to move. They can work better. It means you can hopefully get a bit more contact and a bit more balance on the ground. So really, really love that. The second thing is where your foot goes in. It's like a little sock, so it's all joined together. There's like a nice padded tongue, and then because it's like a sock, you don't get that kind of crossover where the tongue kind of folds in on the shoe and then it gets uncomfortable. So they're super, super easy to get on. And then the last thing is the lugs on the bottom. They've got these like 4mm lugs. And I wore these on kind of like a slippery, gravelly trail, and they were fantastic. Didn't slip at all. They do have like a little bit of a rocker on them, I suppose, and I just find that a rocker on a shoe really helps kind of take some of the strain off my calves, and I have had some Achilles issues in the past. So yeah, really, really love that as well. So the second thing is my new watch. So I've got the Suunto, it's the Race 2, and I've actually never had a watch that hasn't been Garmin. So this is a massive change for me. So I'm really excited just to try something different. First things I noticed is the strap. So love the orange band, but the strap, instead of having those like little circle things that you tuck the strap into, it actually has this little clip, and then that clips into those buckle holes, so it's not going anywhere. And then yeah, the screen just seems much brighter than my old one. It's touchscreen, haven't had that before. And something I'm really excited to start tracking is my sleep. I don't know if you can see. We'll put it upside down. So you can start tracking my sleep and my HRV as well. If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And if you do have any questions on the Keen Seek Trail Runners or the Suunto Race 2, then just pop those down in the comments.